listening to the CD Baby DIY Music Podcast. Hey there, my name is Kevin, and on this 10th edition of the DIY Music Podcast, you're going to meet a brand new band from Manhattan, Kansas that goes by the name Moving Rushmore. Now, I came across these guys by accident, and when I saw what they were doing, I thought, I can't believe more bands aren't doing this. Bands and artists are always trying to figure out how to get people's attention and expand the reach of their music. Well, Moving Rushmore found a way to break through all the noise and grab tons of exposure before they even had any music available, and before they even had all the members in place. So how did they do it? Well, what's the big secret? Well, it's simple. From the very beginning, and I mean the very beginning, the guys have been producing a video podcast, or a vidcast as they're also called, which has documented their musical journey from the start. The very first episode is just an introduction. You hear about the guys, you hear about a little bit of their background, and their desire to put together this band and make something special out of it. And it goes on from there. You follow along as they're finding a bass player, as they're going into the studio for the first time, playing their first show, and it shows all the ups and downs, and it's just a very honest documentation of their experience as a band. Well, shortly after the release of the vidcast, they were featured on the front page of the iTunes podcast section, where they stayed for many weeks. But the surprising thing was, the feature happened before they even had any music recorded. So suddenly all these people were being drawn into them as a band and hearing their music when it wasn't even available. But of course, as you see in the vidcast, it didn't take long for that to change. So I thought it would be great to get these guys on the podcast just to describe the process of making the vidcast, get some insight behind the idea and what it takes, and just hear more about them as a band. Well, I figured no one could do a better introduction for the band than the band themselves. So here's Moving Rushmore.
Just thank you so much for having us out. We're having a good time. Are you all having a good time so far? Yeah! Now, I've just heard that the 4-H crew is like wild. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I've heard. Is that true? I believe it. I totally believe it. Well, I want to take just a second while the band plays to introduce to you Moving Rushmore. And the first person I want to introduce to you is Kirk. He's back there at the soundboard. He's the bald dude. And the first person who gets to Kirk and gives him a high five gets a free shirt, just so you know. All right. Also, another member of the band that you don't see up here is Mr. Tim Seeley. Tim Seeley's back behind the computer with the video camera right here. Let's give him a round of applause. That's right. Yeah. If you go to the website, movingrushmore.com, he's got all kinds of vidcasts of us and cool video stuff. He's really legit. He's really cool. And to my right is Mr. Brent on the drums. Give it up for him. That's right. To my left, Jason Graves on electric guitar. And behind me, I think, because he's ever so sneaky, he moves about, is Mr. Dave Owens on the bass. That's right. You watch him, because he's sneaky. My name's Patrick Largen. We're totally excited to be here. Thanks for coming out. We want you to enjoy yourselves. Dance in the aisles if you want to. Clap. Have a good time. All right?
Well, joining me on the podcast now is Moving Rushmore. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey Kevin, we're doing good.
Doing all right.
Well, we got the big rock and roll intro, but not all the guys are here with us, and just so we can identify you when you talk, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself again?
My name's Patrick Largent, and I play acoustic guitar and also sing, and then also do some of the writing of the music.
I'm Tim Seeley, and I do video and other miscellaneous things.
Dave Owens, and I do the bass.
My name's Jason Graves, and I am the electric guitarist for the band, and also do write most of the lyrics, although Tim has been helping me with that some, so it's been fun.
Well, cool. As you guys know, with our podcast, we're highlighting artists that are doing things out there to draw attention to their music. And I came across you guys just on iTunes one day because I'm a bit of a podcast geek, and saw you guys featured there right on the front page and thought, cool, I'll check this out. So I just started watching the vidcast and noticed that you guys are just starting out and you guys are just documenting the process. It seems to be working in a way that other artists haven't tapped into. Why don't you start by telling us how that came about?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm totally encouraged that you came across it. I'm hoping more people like you have done the same thing. But it's been amazing when we started this thing, and we've only been a band 4 or 5 months, something like that. When we started it, Tim Seeley was a real good friend of mine, and he just is amazing with video. And I thought, we talked to the other guys in the band, and we said, this thing has got to have Tim. Tim would make this thing amazing. And so we asked Tim to join on and really see him as not just a guy that helps us out with video, but as a band member, that his instrument is visuals. And so he does visuals live for us, as well as document our journey and put together our vidcasts and our website stuff. And it's been a blast. It's been totally fun.
Well, we'll get back into the vidcast stuff in just a minute, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself as a band, the style of music, and what you guys are hoping to accomplish?
Dave, you want to take it?
I would describe it as kind of the blend of a few bands. We'll use probably like a Coldplay, Dashboard Confessional, The Fray, kind of along those. I won't say emo, but dynamically driving music is what I think the phrase that we came up with. So that's how I would kind of describe it.
It's all of you, nothing at all. You're not in pieces, you are whole. It's the part of you that stays apart, keeps the hurt inside your heart. We'll take you.
And Dave, you were the last member to join, correct?
That is correct.
It was funny watching your first segment on the vidcast. It seemed like you just showed up and they sat you down in front of the camera without even giving you any sort of warning.
That's exactly what happened, actually.
They gave me one practice, and then they did that. Then
Yeah.
They sat me down. I was like, what is this?
You guys said that you've been together for 4 months and you've been writing and working on songs. Have you started to perform and play out live?
Yeah, we've recently just started. We've just now kind of got to the point where we have a long enough set that we can start playing shows. So just this past week and a half, we've played with a couple really good bands, Lost Ocean with Credential, and then an unsigned band named Tifa. And then, we've only played 4 shows total, but we've already had several contacts for more shows this month, and it seems like it's snowballing rapidly, which is very cool. So,
What's the music scene like there in Manhattan, Kansas?
the scene
Difficult.
Incredibly difficult, yeah. There's not a music scene here, really.
Yeah, there's a few decent local bands in Manhattan, but there's not even really any great venues. There's some bars and stuff, but as far as decent venues, you gotta go 2 or 3 hours away to Lawrence or Kansas City, where the music scene's a little more exciting. So I guess in Kansas there's been some stuff, but as far as Manhattan, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Until now.
I'd also say that one thing that we've discovered is that passion is really contagious, and so the vidcasts have been really cool because people can see our passion, and that's really drawing to people, I think.
Well, with the vidcast, let's jump into that with a little more detail. Tim, are you just there on hand all the time shooting video as the band writes, records, and performs? Or do you plan out times when you're going to be shooting different segments, or how do you guys work that?
Well, it's sort of my original idea was, there's lots of vidcasts and podcasts out there for other bands, but it's sort of just miscellaneous touring stuff, shows, things like that, and they're all pretty well established. So I had the idea of, at least I think I did, maybe Patrick did, who knows?
I think you did.
See you, Tim.
Yeah, sure. I had a brilliant idea of doing this vidcast, which was actually real risky for us because we didn't even have a full band at the time. But I thought that would be a good way to sort of carve a niche for us because there wasn't a lot of that out there. But as far as like planning, things like that, I shoot sort of in a documentary sort of style for the most part. So yeah, I do come to practices. I run around at the shows with the camera when I can. And eventually, I'd like to visit people's homes and, do a little bit more variety. A lot of the stuff we've been doing is sort of the talking head kind of real world kind of confessional camera kind of thing. But I'd really like to branch out and start doing a lot more creative type of things. It's hard to do when you're working 8 to 5, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And also, I think one of the main ideas behind the whole thing was let's give people the opportunity to come on this journey with us as we pursue this dream that we have. And so the idea of documenting this journey is so that people can kind of see and be a part of it, and ups and downs. We talk about mess ups during the shows, or we talk about the way we write music, or the fun things that we do off stage and all that. But it's a lot of the feedback that we've gotten is that it's so great to be able to be. It's almost like a lot of people are on this journey with us, which is really cool.
You guys have only been a band for 4 months, but do you find that you're building a stronger connection with people because of the vidcast?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. It's fun because, people will just sort of stumble on, sort of like you did in iTunes, and they'll start listening to our music and telling their friends. And even though we've been doing it a real short time, we've had, several thousand downloads. And it's funny because, the internet being what it is, we've had downloads from like 20 different countries. And I have no idea how those random people stumbled on our website. But yeah, it's just cool to see how it's slowly starting to spread out and build a little momentum.
So how did it come about that you guys were actually featured on iTunes? Was it something that was completely random and out of the blue, or did you guys know somebody?
No, it was. I wouldn't say it was random, but we didn't know anyone. When we got started real early on, we really pushed a lot of our relationships and friends to get on iTunes and to vote for us. And I think the first few weeks, especially, there was a lot of people that were watching it and rewatching it, showing their friends, and more importantly, voting for it on iTunes. And I think that's kind of what pushed us to the front of the pack. And the quality. I mean, it's a good quality vidcast. So I think they screen those. So it's not just us running around with a handy cam, doing goofy stuff. Like, we put a little bit more thought into it than that. So
when you say vote for it on iTunes, what does that entail?
Yeah. Well, you can go to iTunes and, whether you're listening to music or say you're listening to the CD Baby podcast, there's a little section in iTunes where you can give it a 5-star, 4-star, all the way down to 1-star rating, where you just put in your email address, and if you want, you can write a little review also. And that's just on the front page of the individual podcast or album.
So did iTunes let you know that it was going to be featured on the front page of the podcast section? Like, hey guys, you might want to know this.
No, they didn't. We just sort of, watched a lot. So.
Did you guys notice a dramatic increase in downloads after that?
I don't think we actually started keeping track of downloads until a couple months into it. So I think that was after the fact. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't really a way that we were keeping track of downloads at that point.
I was curious a little bit about the actual production side of the vidcast and what's involved as far as the technical aspect. What do you have to do to pull this off every time?
These days, with technology as it is, you could feasibly buy like a $400 or $500 camera and some cheap Home Depot lights and set it up the right way, just get good audio, and have a really nice looking vidcast. And as far as storage online, we just have a web host that we pay a flat fee. It's like $8 a month or something like that. And they do all our web hosting for us. They give us 20 gigs of storage, something like that, which is plenty for hours and hours and hours of video. but yeah, the most important thing is having a good audio feed and then just making the image look good. So we have some nice equipment. I've done some independent videography on the side. So I kind of had all this stuff laying around already. So it was sort of a natural, overflow into the band. So, but it's really feasible for a band. If you're just getting started, you can spend $500 to $1,000 and have something that looks real good, as long as you're willing to put in the time and learn a little bit, I guess. So.
Well, you guys mentioned that things were starting to snowball rather quickly for you now because of the vidcast. In what ways are things starting to pick up for you?
Jason, you want to answer that?
Yeah, we've played. I think in the last couple weeks we've had 3 fairly big shows that we've played, and out of those 3 shows, it seems like we've made some more contacts just based on people who either came to the shows or knew about the vidcast or knew about what we were doing. And I think the reason we have gained so much momentum is not as much due to just playing shows, but just the fact that we have been able to get our personality out and our, what we're about, what our band is about, out to the public. I know at one of our last shows in Kansas City, I had heard several people comment to me that they felt like they almost kind of knew us before they even came to the show, which was exciting because, I think they could just jump in and get into the show so much quicker that way, kind of knowing what we're about, who we are.
It's no small thing to let go and meet pain. It's not easy to stand. And it pulls on the most painful of strings. It's the only way I'll be free.
So it seems that people are showing up to the show with anticipation to see you guys play.
Yeah, exactly. I think it just builds the anticipation that much more, and people get excited to hear us. So, it's been great.
To me, it seems like there's just so many bands out there now that the one thing that seems to get lost in the shuffle is that personal touch. And when I came across your vidcast, that's one of the things that grabbed me, because it was just about meeting you guys and going along for the ride with the band.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So what's your guys' plan at this point? Are you trying to make this your full-time career? Or?
The answer is definitely yes to full-time.
Yeah. I think it's definitely our dream, all of our dream, to be able to do this for a living. Right now, we all work full-time jobs and things that we like, all right, but don't love. And so music is really what we would love to do for a living. It's what we're really passionate about. And so the vidcasts have been fun for us because we get to be more than just musicians. Like, we get to really impact people. People get to see who we really are, and we're really about relationships, even more so maybe than music. And so vidcasts have helped us do that.
At this point, you guys just have 3 songs available. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've had the chance to go to the studio once, and it was like a one-day run and gun kind of thing where we recorded it, mixed it, and tried to get it all done. But I think, we have about 45 to 50 minutes worth of music now, and I think, we recorded the demo within a month of Dave joining the band, so the music has progressed quite a bit since then, and I'd say the quality is much better, the songwriting's better, the lyrics are better. And people have been asking us a lot, hey, I really like this song, but it's not on the CD. And so we've recorded a couple bootlegs that we've sent to a few people, but I think we'd love to get in the studio again. We just need to find the time and find the right people. So.
And the money.
And the money, yeah.
Yeah, money's always an issue for indie artists. For the first few episodes, where did you record the tracks that are playing over that video? Obviously, you hadn't been to the studio yet.
Yeah, some of the first episodes, we actually just, before we even had Dave, so it was just me, Kirk, me, Patrick, Jason, and Brent. So we actually went to one of the houses that Patrick had built that he hadn't sold yet, and set up this old Pro Tools rig. It was about 8 years old. Had a bunch of mics, plugged them in and just sort of did a real basic rough mix. So we actually had those scratch tracks up online for a little while, but they were so embarrassing that we had to take them off because we didn't want people to hear them.
Yeah.
But we eventually got to go to High Point Recording in Kansas City. Joe Mills is the recording engineer and producer there, and he gave us a day in his studio, and that's where we got the demo from. So,
Which I don't know if you've tried recording 3 songs in a day, but I've tried it with 2 other bands, and it's been impossible.
Yeah, it never goes as quickly as planned, and it always seems like by around dinner time, that's when they're done miking the drums and ready to actually start recording.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. It's been great having you on the podcast. Before I let you go, do you have any words of advice for any other artist or band out there who's just trying to get something going, trying to get it off the ground?
I was going to say one thing that I guess for other bands out there that I would say is that I know that I've been in other bands that it's taken us a year to get merchandise. And with this band, it was like, we obviously had vidcast merchandise at our first show. I mean, at our first show, there was 15 people wearing Moving Rushmore shirts, and we hadn't even played before. No, and that's, to bands looking to go out there. I mean, like, I would say, really look at your merchandise. I mean, initially, I know that it's an investment, but if you're happy with your music, I mean, like, people will proudly buy your stuff.
That's right. It's all about merchandising.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really just fun. It's really just about, stepping out and taking a risk, because none of us have done this before except for Dave. Dave's been in a couple of bands, so all the merchandise stuff is really fun for us, making posters, doing the vidcast, the website. So the first couple months we were going all out. So now we're kind of getting to the point where we're getting into a little bit of a groove. So yeah, just get out there and try something. Yeah, go for it. That's really all it is. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, and keep the vidcasts coming.
Yeah, Kevin. Thanks for the interview. I've listened to a few of your the podcast episodes, and they're really, like, especially the booking agent episode. It was like 3 or 4, I think. That was very timely for us. So
cool. We're glad they were useful, because that's why we do the podcast, to help bands out like you guys that have got some cool things going. Well, sadly, that's going to bring us to the end of another edition of the DIY Music Podcast. Before we go, though, I wanted to make sure you knew that if you go to Moving Rushmore's website, it's movingrushmore.com. If you go there, you can see all the vidcasts that we were talking about, and you can even start from the beginning and go all the way through to the current ones that they've produced. You can also find those on iTunes in the iTunes Music Store. Just search Moving Rushmore, and you'll find it in the podcast section. And also, if you're there on iTunes, you'll be able to check out their 3-song EP. And after watching the vidcast, you'll have experienced the process with them, and it'll make it that much cooler. While we're speaking about websites, I just want to remind you that we have some great resources on our podcast website beyond what you're hearing in the show. So the web address is cdbabypodcast.com, and we just are working on a new design for it, and we think it looks pretty cool, and like to see what you guys think. And also, don't forget, you can always email us your thoughts, comments, show ideas, and anything else at info@cdbabypodcast.com. And finally, to close out the show, I'm going to play one more track by Moving Rushmore. This is called Close My Eyes. listening to the CD Baby DIY Music Podcast, broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, USA.